Mississauga. There's some sick. There was a cat in this aquarium, and it was so vocal, and it was like looking at. It was like the manager was a cat.
What?
Yeah,
that's so random.
In an aquarium.
Damn.
I know what you're thinking.
In Mississauga?
Yes, it was in Chinatown or Little Asia. I think it's actually Little Asia because there's no way it's Chinatown when it's got like a Thai restaurant and a Vietnamese restaurant.
Were you in an aquarium or were you in a restaurant just looking at
no.
aquarium?
It literally goes restaurant, aquarium, restaurant.
Were they connected? Because that would have been amazing.
I'm just picturing the aquarium there, but the fish disappear.
So.
The fish disappear every couple days. They cycle through new fish all the time.
They had some big painted turtles. They were like this big. It was great.
Me and Tala went to a fish and chip place, and they had an aquarium there, and she was like, "Ooh, fish!" I'm like, "We're eating fish tonight too." She was like, "Yay!" I was like, "I don't know how this is going through your little brain, your little 3-year-old brain, but I like that." Yeah. Anyway, welcome to Geeks with Kids, the geeky podcast that sometimes does parenting, but not tonight because we're not doing that. I'm your host, Eric, and today we're going to dive into the grittiest and personally my favorite Netflix superhero series, and that's Daredevil. Originally released in April 10th, 2015. Holy shit, that's such a long time ago. On Netflix.
10-year anniversary.
I know. Daredevil was developed by Drew Goddard and was produced by Stephen S. DeKnight in the first season. Originally, it starred Charlie Cox as Matt Murdock, Deborah Ann Woll as Karen Page, Eldon Henson as Foggy Nelson, and Vincent D'Onofrio as Wilson Fisk. The series would later add John Bernthal as Frank Castle, the Punisher, and Elodie Young as Elektra. We'll be breaking down all 3 seasons and discussing the Defenders because, that's sort of part of that. And we're going to be looking ahead at Daredevil Born Again, which is the Disney Plus show that's premiering in just a couple weeks. I don't know. Why did I write that line about Karen and Foggy? Oh, yeah, because they weren't originally supposed to be in the series. And then they, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, between like fans being like, what?
Yeah, and the showrunner was like, "No, we have to have them. We're not doing this without them." We'll talk on that later. Joining me today are Dave, Hawk, and Marcus. And we can't wait to get into this. Normally, we would talk about what's good, but I think there's a lot here because we're going to be talking about 3 seasons. We're not going to do our usual break down the whole season. We're going to do themes and stuff. We're going to jump all over the place. But we need to talk about how Daredevil, affected the landscape before it jumps into the full-on MCU. But before we get into that, I'd love to know how you were first introduced to the character of Daredevil. Was it in the comics? Was it in the 90s animated cartoon? Was it the Ben Affleck-led movie? Let's start with Dave.
Definitely the 90s. What is it? Was it called Spider-Man the Animated Series?
Yeah. Spider-Man the Animated Series.
Yeah, and there's a whole subplot with Matt Murdock and Daredevil. It was great.
Mm-hmm.
The animation on him was pretty great. There was a lot of great cameos.
Do you know why it was really good on him? And why they did that whole thing? That was a backdoor pilot for a series that they had greenlit, but they never did it to fruition. They had ended up doing the Fantastic Four. They did Iron Man for a little bit, and they did Silver Surfer. But Daredevil
also did an Avengers show, which was also very good.
Yeah, but they didn't end up doing the Daredevil. They wanted to again start doing some like street level stuff. That's why they wanted Daredevil so that he could also
because that Spider-Man show went pretty crazy pretty fast. Yeah. Clone Saga was like season 2 and season 3 was like already Secret Wars.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean that's honestly, I'm gonna jump before you guys. That's how I got introduced to Daredevil, was the 90s cartoon, and then I ended up getting into the comics much later, especially when Kevin Smith did his run. Then that led to me reading Frank Miller's run and a bunch of other people. Let's go with.
He wasn't that popular before the Frank Miller run, right? Which was like the early 90s.
Yeah, agreed. I think that's what popped him up there, because he had just come off of the Batman stuff that he had done, so he just jumped from one gritty.
What about a guy who actually has bat powers?
For sure. All right, Hawk, how did you get introduced to Daredevil? Do you remember?
Probably sometime in the late 80s when I was doing like most of my kind of comic collecting. Nice. And it wasn't so much I was a serious collector of Daredevil, but it was a crossover issue involving him and the Wolverine. They were in pursuit of the same person, the Bushwhacker.
Oh man, what a random.
Wasn't he the villain of Luke Cage season 2?
He was a way different character. He was a mutant with ability to turn his arm into a shotgun.
Bushmaster. Bushwhacker.
Is that Bushmaster?
Man,
oh god, this is some GI Joe level. Like,
I mean, I love it. That's amazing.
It was a super dark storyline, because like he was basically a serial killer. He was going around targeting mutants, but not ordinary mutants. There were mutants who were geniuses at music or ballets, or there was one who was an artist. Daredevil and Wolverine were both in pursuit of him.
That's interesting.
And it came down to a confrontation between him and Logan, and that Logan who was trying to kill him, Matt who was trying to bring him down.
It feels like he was looking at Kraven being like, you know what? I could do something like that. Marcus, how'd you get introduced to the...
So for me, I mean, it's kind of a mix of the 90s Spider-Man cartoon really kind of like cemented that kind of stuff in. But actually the first thing I ever got from Daredevil was this pack right here that I still have in my hand.
Oh shit.
This is called a Mini Masters Works Collector's Pack, issue 319 to 325, all in here. And this was the reason I even knew who Daredevil was. So I got this pack at like a comic book store. I went with my buddy Jason, who was a big comic book guy. And I was used to reading only X-Men and like those kind of things. It's a little bit of Batman and everything. And then, I literally saw this pack and it was on sale and I was like, oh, that looks kind of cool. And the guy was just like, that's our last one. And I remember just kind of being like, okay, I'll take this. And I went home and I read it and I was like, this guy's like Batman, but without a cape and just like kick ass. So I kind of got into him from that point on. But yeah, it all started with this exact pack that I still have on my shelf. It's fallen apart. It's missing the top of the cardboard here. Like it's all fallen to shit. But I literally when I set up my little library area down here, I opened these up and reread this comic book series again. And I was like, yeah, it's pretty awesome. That was my foray into Daredevil.
Is that one in black and white? Just based on the cover, it looks really cool. I don't know if
it's not in black and white. The cover art is black and white. There's two different versions of the cover. There's this one, the black and white, and then there's one that's black with white. I think, according to this is the second printing of this comic book here, so it's not bad.
I want to look up that. I just like the name of that series, Fall from Grace. That sounds like something interesting that I would want to read. That comic right there, I had seen a couple other like Daredevil comics that were black and white, and I always thought that it would make a really cool, how Batman the Animated Series was white drawn on black. I think we talked about this last week.
Yeah.
I always thought that Daredevil would make a cool comic like that. I feel like that has probably happened already. I just haven't seen it. I feel like maybe Frank Miller probably did that. Anyway, let's get into some background about this character. He was created by Stan Lee and artist Bill Everett. And Daredevil first appeared in Daredevil 1 in 1964. He was known as the Man Without Fear. Matt Murdock is a blind lawyer who has heightened senses and was trained by the mysterious Stick to fight crime in Hell's Kitchen. Over the years, writers like Frank Miller, Brian Michael Bendis, and Ed Brubaker shaped Daredevil into, what he is today. And I would be remiss if we don't talk about the 2003 film, the Ben Affleck-led Daredevil film, because I honestly feel like we wouldn't have the Marvel Netflix series without that, because it failed so badly that the rights went from Fox back to Marvel. The film was directed by Mark Steven Johnson, and I had talked about this just before. It has that stylized, like gritty look of early 2000s films. Remember like Dark City that had that filter of black that made it look fake, but noir? Well,
they kept doing that shot with Bullseye where they would see something, you'd do that fast zoom back to him, and he's like, it's me, Bullseye.
I'm Bullseye.
Bullseye.
It was very CGI heavy, and it definitely had that new metal Evanescence. This is where we were introduced to Evanescence. The world was introduced to Evanescence. The cast included Ben Affleck as Matt Murdock, Daredevil, Jennifer Gardner as Elektra, Jon Favreau as Foggy Nelson, Joe Pantoliano as Ben Ulrich, Colin Farrell as Bullseye, and Michael Clark Duncan as the Kingpin. A year later on DVD, they released a director's cut, which is way better and included Coolio and this whole subplot about Matt Murdock being a lawyer, which sort of is important. Did you guys see this movie? What did you guys think of it?
Of course I'm sure we all saw this movie because
Hawk hasn't seen it.
Hawk has it. Well,
I never sat down to watch it.
It was one of those things where when it came out, for that time frame, from where we all were mentally, we were like, "This is going to be amazing. This is going to be so cool." And again, being a Daredevil
Spider-Man, right? Like
we had
Spider-Man 2 years earlier.
Spider-Man. So why wouldn't we want, like, oh my God, Daredevil's coming to the big screen, and we went to go see it, and I think everybody kind of just left, and like that, like we didn't leave impressed, we didn't leave sad, we all just left.
I was 15 and I loved it.
Oh no!
I hated Bullseye, but I
love Bullseye.
Oh no, I hated Bullseye so much. I hated Bullseye so much. But I will say, like, okay, so the pros and cons. I didn't mind the helmet design on Ben Affleck's helmet, like, because it was trying to emulate the comic book kind of thing. Whatever, I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. I didn't like his red leather suit though. It was just too.
It was very 2000s.
That didn't work. But the helmet I liked.
I thought his Billy Clubs
Ben Affleck was terrible. The Billy Clubs looked cool, yeah. But I mean, like, Ben Affleck himself, I thought was just dreadful. Like he should not have been in that film.
It was too stocky a guy to play the character, right?
He really was. Like, he really felt like big and bulky, and like he should. Like he worked in the idea of like where the Batman one where he's there, whatever, just because he looked like that Frank Miller chunkier, like thicker Batman kind of thing. It works there. Doesn't work on Daredevil, the man who's supposed to jump and flip off buildings without fear. It doesn't really translate for me.
Have you heard the Kevin Smith story about this?
No.
So when Ben Affleck was approached to play Daredevil, he went to Kevin Smith, who was a big fan, and Ben Affleck wasn't really a Daredevil fan. Like, he had gotten into it after he had gotten the role, but beforehand he was like, what, should I play this role to Kevin Smith? And Kevin Smith's like, you know what? It's a good role. And he's like, Ben Affleck's like, I really want to play Batman though, and I don't think I will ever play Batman. So he's like, I will get this so I can finally play a superhero, because he was a comic book fan. So he ended up picking the role because he never thought he would be Batman. Which I think is amazing.
Got to play Superman and Batman.
He was Superman?
Sort of.
He
played George Reeves.
Yeah. But he got to be Superman.
Yeah. Amazing.
But again, that worked because his body type worked for that era. Like, that was perfect for that era, right? Barrel chested kind of thing, right? Like, that was the mark of a man.
Yeah, he was a triangle.
Ben Affleck doesn't look like a ninja, and the whole point of Daredevil is that he looks like a ninja.
Exactly.
Right? Like,
yeah. And I mean, like, there were good points. I really liked Michael Clark Duncan as far as, like,
so good.
Like he was fantastic. I wish there could have been like an actual focus on him. Like, had somebody said, okay, let's really delve into this character. Let's really give you give the man some time to get some character development with somebody who would develop it with him. Because I think he, like, as far as physicality, nobody could have come closer to a physical looking Kingpin yet at that time, or even 100%. To this day.
Yeah.
Like, he physically embodied it perfectly. Like, he was all muscle, but also so big that you would look to yourself and say, well, that's a chunky guy, right? But then he would just pick you up and throw you across the room, and you're like, nope, I'm not messing with that. Like, it worked so well, but it was tainted by so much bullshit from that movie that I just, it was cast in a shadow. I mean, the one scene that I love is him, like, in his, like, beater shirt throwing Ben Affleck around. Like, that was the best part of the entire movie. And that's it. That's all he got.
Dave, Hawk?
The rest of the time, they just took pictures of him and videos of him smoking cigars. It wasn't enough. It was good. It was cool. It was cool as shit. Wasn't enough.
Yeah.
I mean, Daredevil was already my favorite superhero by this point. I was 15 when this movie came out. Actually, probably 14, because it probably came out in the summer. And I was definitely obsessed with it. like I already listened. Like my favorite band at the time was Fuel, which is so there's Evanescence, and the Bring Me to Hell is like the other song from this movie. And that was my favorite band at the time. So like everything about this was like, yeah, I'm just gonna keep watching this, and like just I don't care about its flaws. Like I don't like I'm just gonna keep watching. It's so good. Like the choreography was pretty good for the time. Yeah. For Hollywood actors, it was. I mean, it wasn't Jackie Chan style stuff, which is really what Daredevil probably should be, but they're not gonna get Jackie Chan. I totally agree with Michael Clark Duncan. I was like, well, they're never gonna get like Big Show. They're never gonna get an actor who looks like this. And then also can act like, now we have Vincent D'Onofrio, but there's also prosthetics involved with that. Yeah. Yeah. But like, I remember people complaining. I'm like, he's really good. He's a really good actor. Yeah. And like, there's the whole stuff, they call him the big white whale and stuff. I'm like, doesn't really matter. Like he embodies the character. He felt like Kingpin, who obviously kids my age would have known because Kingpin was one of the main adversaries in the Spider-Man TV show at the time. Yeah. So we're familiar with all this stuff. But yeah, Bullseye was the real weak point. I like because we'd also seen Bullseye and stuff, and we're like, he's supposed to be wearing a blue suit and like probably use guns. Like I guess they got a PG-13 rating by him not really using a lot of guns and stuff. But and when you're a 14-year-old kid and you see Jennifer Garner in tight leather, you're just kind of like, I'm going to enjoy this movie. So
I'm really glad she got to like kind of full cycle and get like that character back to a point where it's like, oh, you redeemed everything. Well done. Like,
especially
you were able
after
to save
movie,
that character.
Right.
It's also none of the actors' faults, right? Like they wanted to make the best thing they could.
Yeah, they sign up for something that they think is going to be awesome, and then the script pulls it in one direction. The effects department pulls it in another direction. The costuming department pulls it in another direction. Like, I mean, I don't know who Colin Farrell's cocaine dealer was at that time, but he pulled him into a different direction. Like damn, man! Like
that was Alexander, right?
That was that was a very weird time for Colin Farrell because he was basically at that height of popularity where he has just taken everything that came along.
Alexander came out the year after. That's when he like reevaluated his life.
Yeah, but I mean, like he was taking every role that came down the pipeline and that. So
I liked how crazy he was in the movie. That's why I liked him.
Oh, 100%. No, he played like Bullseye is a psychopath. Like he did that part right. Making him Irish, totally fine. That doesn't matter. I like it's just like the whole like leather, like
the leather jacket coat, and
you're just like,
it
was
like what's the point of throwing something and then like showing off that bullseye on your like. I don't know, like the way it all kind of came down. It was like, this is so stupid. Like he throws it.
I can just imagine Colin Farrell going like, how do we incorporate this thing? And it'd be like, maybe it's like a thing to him. Like it's like, cause he's a serial killer. So it's like his thing.
Like, I know he doesn't know it. I don't think he knows it at the time, but he's doing it to a blind guy. Like he's showing it off to a fucking blind
That's a good point. That's a really good point.
I will say that the director's cut was much better.
Way better.
Like,
Great B plot.
Yeah.
Or C plot, I guess.
And Jon Favreau was really good as Foggy Nelson. I thought he was a good addition.
Oh my God, I forgot that he was in that.
Yeah.
I think there's a special thing about this movie because we got two excellent actors turned directors from it. Right? Because Ben Affleck has won and been nominated multiple times now. Like he won for Argo. Yeah, which is an excellent movie. The Town is maybe his best movie. Like and Jon Favreau, of course, basically made the MCU, so we can't really like.
But this is one of those kind of things where you like, I can say that I don't like the movie, but I can't blame the movie because the movie is how these people, these actors, and these creators found their way through everything. It's exactly. It's that kind of idea. Like, you can't sit there and be like, I hate my past. Well, your past made you what you are. So if you're happy or if we're happy with where they are, like we got to be okay with their past.
This movie crawled across broken stained glass so that the Daredevil series could run.
And speaking of the Daredevil series,
let's do it.
So they had tried to do a number of adaptations after this, and it just nothing fell through. And then Marvel blew up in 2008 with Iron Man. So, obviously Netflix and Marvel got together and was like, you know what? Let's do something that's a little different than the MCU, which ended up being all the big heroes, the big, planetary threat stuff. They wanted to do more of a grounded, more longer serialized version of a comic book series. And with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. sort of being like the more, I don't want to say campy, but it's more of the...
It's like Monster of the Week.
It's like animated.
It was geared to more as network television. It was geared to more like, the primetime audience.
Yeah. They're the ABC audience.
Very broad, very general.
And they wanted this to be like their HBO.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah. They didn't need to follow like heart for heart, word for word comic book storylines or anything. They were able to play fast and loose with whatever the fuck they want. And it kind of worked. It worked perfectly for that series. Like it was good.
Yeah. So for Netflix, they wanted to make this the street level. They wanted the street level heroes. They wanted the grittiness, the darkness of, being the everyday,
Do you think
hero.
They say that to make us excited, and then really the producers are like, because it's way cheaper.
It's way cheaper. We don't have we don't have to add all the special effects, but we will do a oneer at least once in the season.
Isn't that kind of the cheapest way to film a series though? If you think about it, just one long take, just do the whole thing in one, and then we don't have to do it.
But if they screw it up, then they have to redo the whole thing, right? If it's easier to cut something and shoot it over. Anyway, that's not important. So 2013 is when Marvel and Netflix announced that their partnership for the street level heroes, starting off with Daredevil in 2015, and then Jessica Jones coming as well in 2015, Luke Cage 2016, Iron Fist 2017. All those heroes would culminate together into the Defender series in 2017, and then we followed that up with the Punisher. A number of those series ended up getting second and third seasons. Only Daredevil got 3 seasons, right? I think everything else just got 2.
Yeah.
Except for Defenders, which, never came back. Understandably.
Well, why would it?
Well, come on.
The show's creators were Stephen S. DeKnight and then later Olsen for producing it. And they announced the cast, which I said earlier, which, was crazy. Everyone sort of like jumped out of their seats when they heard that Vincent D'Onofrio was cast as Kingpin.
Yeah.
And then, came to fans just sort of loved the whole series, and then, were devastated when it all got canceled during the whole Marvel dying of, Netflix, that relationship.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on this before we do into the season breakdown? Were you guys excited when you heard about it?
Oh, for sure.
Very much.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like I was excited. Like, I mean, we'll get into it, but when the Netflix stuff started, Daredevil was the only thing that really excited me about the idea of that whole thing. Loved that first season. And then as they started building off of it, it was cool. But like, I always just longed for more Daredevil. I just wanted more Daredevil. I wanted more Vincent D'Onofrio. I wanted more of that entire cast, really. I just wanted more of that storyline. Mm-hmm. So them saying, hey, we're going to give it to you, I was very excited, but cautiously excited, very cautiously excited.
Yes. Yeah. It's always good to be cautious. Yes, I remember seeing the previews for it, being very excited. First episode right out of the bank, I knew it was something special in that, and in particular the casting of Charlie Cox in that, because he just seemed to gel with the role. Like
he looks so right for Matt Murdock.
Yeah, it's just one of those weird things, It's like the way Robert Downey Jr. was always kind of like instantly, ready to play Tony Stark at any given point in his career. Same with Charlie Cox. He just seemed perfect as Matt and Daredevil.
Yeah.
I think what made me excited was that Drew Goddard was associated with the project.
Stephen S. DeKnight, who were both Angel and Buffy guys.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And those shows were kind of the best fight scenes we had on TV at the time, right?
Yep. And they were always the people that did the darker stuff. Like they moved over to Angel, which was amazing.
Very dark.
And Drew Goddard did one of my favorite Halloween movies, which is Cabin in the Woods.
Cabin in the Woods.
So,
oh, I love that movie.
I remember talking with my D&D group about, because obviously we talk about comic books, and being like, because we had one person in a group who always talked about we needed a Batman series that was just Law and Order. where it was like
that's what I thought Gotham was gonna be.
Yes, because like in Gotham City, there were 3 parts of the criminal justice system. There's the district attorneys who blah blah blah, the police, and the Batman. and we really thought like, well, they could just like they could make a really cheap Daredevil show and basically make it Law and Order and just kind of put, like, because we had Smallville, like we had other shows that showed an archetype where you could do this stuff. But we knew Netflix really was up and coming with this bar of quality because we already had Orange is the New Black and House of Cards at the time, right? Mm-hmm. People were like, "Oh, these are great, really dark shows. Oh, cool. We're gonna have a Daredevil show to match that tone. Awesome. The cast looked great, right? You're like, well, and we had no idea it'd been 12 years, right, since we'd seen Ben Affleck, and they kept saying, well, it'll tie into the movies. We're going, holy fuck. It could be anything.
And then they just barely touched it.
They could do all these TV shows and then they could be in the movies, which of course basically never happened until
they talked about the snap.
The incident?
The incident, yeah, they called.
Yeah, with the Chitarians. Yeah, so yeah, the hype was real.
For sure. So we're gonna break down each season. I think we're gonna go by theme instead of like episode by episode, which is just easier. Because some of the things they don't talk about the whole season, and you get clips of it throughout the season. So let's start off with season 1, which was the birth of the Devil of Hell's Kitchen. So one of the most important things, this is being a whole new series, they had to do the origin, obviously, right? So we see clips of his dad and Matt as a younger person throughout the series, and we see his his accident, and then him training with Stick, and especially the most important thing about Daredevil, his Catholic guilt. What did you guys think about his origin in the Netflix series, especially the first season?
I mean, I was good with the whole thing. It was fine. Again, one of the things that is also just along with the whole superhero fatigue that we're all feeling is origin story fatigue. Yeah. There's just too much of it. Like when they're well-established characters, maybe we don't necessarily need it. Like we do not need another Spider-Man, origin story. We don't need another Uncle Ben.
How many Uncle Bens can we kill?
Yeah,
exactly. We don't need another Batman's parents being killed. There's certain superheroes we don't need any of those backstories anymore. Daredevil wasn't well known enough that I feel like we needed the backstory, but we also didn't want to harp on it. Like, give me 2 full episodes of backstory and it's going to kill me. Mm-hmm. So I like that they were trying to pepper it through. They were trying to keep it relatively, it made sense to relate to the plot at the time and everything, which I thought was a nice way of doing it. It didn't feel forced. It didn't feel awkward. It didn't feel awful. And it felt like it was planned properly. Mm-hmm. That's the biggest thing is like when an origin story is just jammed down your throat for the sake of like, you just have to hear these things. Okay. Now we can start the movie. It's kind of like, Jesus Christ, I hate this. But they kind of worked it in a pretty seamless way, I feel.
I have to say, sorry, you go.
Daredevil stories have always also focused on stuff with his dad, right? Like the fact that his dad was involved in the criminal underworld and he's always fighting that element. Whereas like Uncle Ben dying is usually tied to like one criminal, right? Yeah. Like Peter's parents dying is usually tied to one criminal, but like his dad, like it all runs through, and he always learns stuff. He's like, oh, I didn't know my dad was throwing fights. I didn't know my dad was actually dealing with these people. Yeah. Like so many things that are actually core to him. And then because of his Catholic guilt, he's always wrestling with that because he's a kid. He wants to think his dad is a good guy. Because his dad is his hero. Mm-hmm. He literally dons his father. Like he's like, my dad was, the devil. Well, now I'm like, he wants to be his father in the same way. So whereas like it's not like Peter Parker's like, I can't wait to grow up to be Uncle Ben. Like it's not like it's so core to him. So you can put it in throughout without just throwing it up front to do an origin thing, right? Like you can layer it through.
I will say that the one thing I liked about the 2003 Ben Affleck movie is that he had his gloves hanging up at the window where he would go in and out. So he would always touch it as he came back. I thought that was a nice little touch. Nothing to do with Netflix, but I just thought that was.
Can I jump on that? Because did you realize that movie has the same plot as the Tim Burton Batman movie? because Wilson Fisk is the one who kills his father.
Oh, I forgot that he did that.
Oh,
And Jack Nicholson is the one who kills his father.
Anyway, Hawk, what'd you think of the origin?
I love the origin story. And yes, the origin stories sometimes are a little difficult in that because, in certain archetypes, they get played over in that. Batman and, Spider-Man, that's been played over and over in that. But, with Daredevil, Daredevil is largely kind of virgin territory, so it's important. It's more important that his origin story gets played out properly in this TV series, and it did. I remember back in the 2000s, there was a run. I can't remember who the artist was of Daredevil in that, but it was Yellow Suit in that. And one of the issues I picked up in that dealt extensively in that with the dad, and they're throwing the fights and finally deciding he'd had enough and wanted to win instead to show his son that he wasn't the person he thought he was.
Yeah.
And it was really well done in the series. But also, his abandonment by Stick. It's weird. Matt is a child of abandonment. His mother abandoned him. His father was taken away from him, and eventually Stick abandoned him as a child too. So it's not just Catholic guilt that drives him in that. It's a lot of that rage over those missing archetypes in his life. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was all handled really well.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of,
I don't know if you guys know why he's my favorite character, because I have so many things in common with him about being blind, having my dad die as a kid, getting the shit kicked out of me most of my childhood.
Oh my God. Yeah. So let's talk about his costume, because it was very intriguing to me that he wore the black ninja suit for most of the season, if not pretty much all of it, right?
The entire season until the very end.
The last episode.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think of the choice to do this?
That was probably one of my favorite things in the entire series. Everything else was amazing. The show was great. Everything that Charlie Cox was doing, brilliant. But when it came to the actual Devil of Hell's Kitchen, it was just this blackened shadow that would show up and beat the fuck out of people. Yeah. I loved that. I loved the wrapped hands in rope, all of that. I want more. I want that to show up again in this new series, even if it's just for one split moment of I can't get to my suit, I'm just going to do it this way. I love that.
Which they did well in the Defenders as well, right?
Yeah, but I mean, I don't want to. Let's not talk about that one just yet.
We got 2 more seasons.
Yeah. I just, everything that, again, they kind of promised and said from the beginning, they're we're going to bring you down to street level and we're going to give you the nitty gritty. We're going to give you that kind of version of it. This feels like the built up that leads to a superhero, as opposed to I am a superhero, here I go. Mm-hmm. This is just somebody who's out there trying to be can't let anybody see my face. And hey, I don't need eye holes, so I'm just going to wrap my face around with this scarf. I love that kind of aesthetic, and I love that problem solving, and I love the fact that it works so perfectly for this character. So that was literally one of my favorite things the entirety of the first season. Same. And it's the biggest flaw I see in second season, which we'll get to afterward.
I think it does such a good job reflecting the Marvel main cinematic films, because a lot of those films were about people earning things. Iron Man has to earn his suit through his trouble, and Matt has to earn himself as the Devil of Hell's Kitchen. But whereas obviously the first act of Iron Man is he builds a suit, right? And that movie is all about you. It's constantly you see a suit, right? He's working on it, and then at the end, he's got the suit. And this whole thing was well, he's not going to make it. It's not about him, because he's not that guy, right? He doesn't get the moniker until he has the suit, essentially, right? He shows that he's creeping around in the dark, that he's this creature of the night, and now the suit reflects that, rather than Tony builds the suit to reflect what he has to do, right? This is what Matt's choosing to do. Matt doesn't have to do this, right? Tony has to do this because he's going to die in that cave otherwise.
Yep.
Huck?
Yeah. Shit, where were we? The black suit. It's such an effective tool in the series, right? It's because the clothes do not always make the man, right? The fact that we get so much of Matt Murdock The blind lawyer, this shows his origin, like, his abilities. Like, they did a great job, like, kind of when they actually chose to show what his abilities kind of look like from in his perspective. It was so cool. Like, that's one of the things that really pissed me off. Like, from the ads from the movie was that whole sonar thing, because it just looks bad. The whole thing.
Oh, that's always cool.
It was okay. This looks amazing. This looks more like what, like, you think, like, when sight and smell and hearing and everything are so finely attuned in that it's almost like a wash of those senses coming together to form a picture. So the fact that we didn't get the suit till the end, I almost didn't care if we ended up getting the suit at all in the series, because it was so damn good in informing the character underneath. Why he was there, why he was doing what he did.
I do love that it does happen at the end, because Matt's all about justice, right? And he's all about dealing out justice that he sees was not dealt. And this was the person who made his suit was a criminal that he thought could, sort of be reformed. Like, he wasn't doing things badly because he had to, but because he was made to. So I thought that was cool, that the whole justice idea, that part of his Catholic guiltness of his life, sort of came in there, and lawyerness as well. And as much as we say that this was the rise of, the Daredevil in the suit, this was also the rise of Wilson Fisk becoming the Kingpin, like fully the Kingpin. And he was always a man in the shadows. And you see that in the first couple episodes, like, he's not said by name, and anyone who's mentions his name gets immediately killed. And we see how he has his fingers in everything. And then we see him building, and then we see this other side of him building his relationship with Vanessa. Right. What do you guys think of the rise of Kingpin in this story, especially Vincent D'Onofrio portraying this amazing character?
It's almost like everyone else is doing the heavy lifting, right? Because, like, he's not even in scenes, and everyone's so scared of him. So those actors are doing such a good job talking about how scared they are of that guy. And of course, they got a ton of great actors. Why can't I think of his name? The guy who plays Leland, like the owl. Phenomenal, right? The banker, who's always bitching about stuff, and he's the one embezzling the most. But, like, and he's the one who's always trying to shrug it off, right? But, like, even him, you can see, like, he's kind of scared. Just really solid acting.
Yeah, I feel like D'Onofrio's performance in this is like the same sort of thing that I feel when I watch Inglourious Bastards and you see Christoph Waltz doing his thing.
Yeah,
there's a terrifyingness to the stillness of a certain character, right? So D'Onofrio's like those scenes where you just see him staring and contemplating, and even just kind of contemplating with himself on, like, what my next move will be, or, like, what am I thinking, or how do I really feel, is, like, kind of terrifying. And then when you do see him make that decision to slam somebody's face into a car door and smash their skull to bits, you're just like, okay, he's for real. This man is for real. It's D'Onofrio doesn't need to look like a giant brick walking through a door, because he knows he is. You know what I mean? And we didn't need the physicality, because he, I remind myself of the stupidness of I think it was an episode of Friends where Joey's learning to, like, from Susan Sarandon's character, oh, you own the room, you walk in and you own everything, and Joey walks in and he's like, oh yeah, oh, it's like, no, you already know you own the room, you're not discovering it for the first time. It was like
yeah,
but it's that kind of note that you already know D'Onofrio's got, right? He's like, he walks in and, like, he's in control. He's in control of this room. He's in control of the restaurant. He's in control of the art gallery. He's in control of absolutely everything, even if he doesn't have to say it, even if he doesn't have to do it, even if he doesn't have to start flexing that muscle. Like, it's an impressive thing to be able to command everything with, like, a grunt or a look of side eye or something. And I feel like that's what he was doing with this character. And to Dave's point, that comes from the other characters playing it well. So the other characters responding to that kind of action is what gives us the information that we're like, holy shit, don't fuck with that man.
Mhm.
And it's just so impressive. And then when he does finally let loose, when he does finally get to a point where we see him like actually kind of lose it and fight, it feels justified. It feels like much like we were earning Daredevil's earning the right for his suit and all that kind of stuff. We earn the right to see the obtusely violent and angry Wilson Fisk.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Especially in that last fight.
If I'm remembering correctly, he's always like trying to stay as clean as possible, right? Yeah. Like every time he like murders somebody, and then he's always washing his hands of it, right?
Just like the cleaning,
he's always getting clean, and then but every time it's more and more blood on him, right? Yeah. Until when they finally face off, and then they're both covered.
I think there's something about him from the first season where he doesn't want to be like his dad, because his dad was always that ultra violent person, so he was always suppressing his rage. But you could see it, like that's how good of an actor he was. Like you could see it just like bubbling underneath. Sorry, Hawk, I sort of jumped over you.
Okay, no worries. Yeah, Vincent D'Onofrio as Wilson Fisk was like such an amazing announcement. You know, I don't know how popular he was like kind of previous to this, because Vincent D'Onofrio would always be that character actor who would pop up in just different things. You know?
Didn't he do like 12 seasons of Special Victim? Or no, what was the Criminal Intent?
He did Criminal Intent, which was not the most popular Law and Order series, you know. And he was, you know, I think he only did, I think
he was in Adventures in Babysitting.
He was the original Thor. Yeah.
But I mean, the one performance you always got to go back to is Full Metal Jacket,
of course,
with Private Pyle and that. You know, it's like, but the transformation he goes through in that, you know, from that schlub who just can't get anything right, who, you know, and it's like you kind of get the impression, okay, he's developmentally disabled, and that a little later on in it. To the absolute turn that he makes at the very end, where his just face is just nothing but leering evil. You know,
as good as Full Metal Jacket is, and Kubrick had like great things to say about him.
Yep.
I think it's his role in Men in Black that shows you how good of an actor he is.
Yes,
that is when his face is just like
everyone goes, "Wait, that's that guy?" You're like, "Yeah,
yep."
Yeah,
I know, but that is an excellent movie to bring up. Like the fact that he plays an alien, a giant cockroach, who's wearing a human suit that's slowly rotting against his thing and tightening and shrinking, and he goes through all the physical, like, you know, kind of characteristics of how that might happen. It's like the guy is just immeasurably talented as an actor, and this was like just like kind of that jewel in the cap, right? To play Wilson Fisk, you know. I know it's like a lot of it was prosthetic, but like there's something about him. Like he just has he's very imposing. Yeah, he has a very imposing, commanding.
He is a very tall person in the first place, right? Yeah. Like, and he's not like something I found interesting. I was watching a documentary about Full Metal Jacket where like he explained that he wasn't like a big guy, like he wasn't chubby or anything. He was just really tall and really lean, and he put on a bunch of weight for that movie. And and to his credit, like you would never, you look at him, you're like, that guy always looked like that, right? And you look at Wilson Fisk, you don't think he's wearing like I actually never thought he was wearing prosthetics. Yeah. I just found that out like last week because I was watching something about the show. I was like, what? I thought he gained a lot of weight. I thought he just ate a bunch, like actors do. Yeah. But no, he's still like a fairly, because you think like he's like 65 now. You're like oh my god, like how much longer can he do this? Can he keep putting on this kind of weight? And it's like he's not.
No, he has a
he's
suit.
That good of an actor.
Yeah. So just to finish off, but like his origin story throughout this was really great too. The childhood stuff aside, and you know, you always. You're right when you zero on the fact that it's always those little things. It's the less that's revealed by him on screen and more by other characters. One of the best scenes was him sitting down with Madame Gao and that, and like learning that he spoke Mandarin and that, and you realize, okay, he like his character
and how much reverence he shows to some people that he actually respects, right?
Yeah,
like
this is, you know, it gives you those little intimations about how this some lonely little kid and that, you know, ended up becoming like the criminal, you know, underboss of everything.
I agree with everyone here, obviously. I will say that I love that there's there's a little bit of a turn with him and Vanessa. Like he has that softness with her. Like she's the one person he will trust forever. And I like that. And I like the actress, I don't have her name, but I like how she played off of Vincent D'Onofrio the whole series. And I'm really glad that originally she was recast for Born Again, but they brought this actress back. So another win for the new MCU. Also in first season, we get to meet Karen Page, a very important person in the mythos of Daredevil. In it, we see her have this whole argument with Union Allied. There's this whole case that's surrounding her and her dismissal, and then sort of the corruption behind that. She ends up building an alliance with Ben Ulrich, who's a reporter who, surprisingly dies in the first season. He's also a very important Daredevil character. And then by the end of the series, or this first season, she ends up becoming the person who kills Wesley, the lawyery guy for Wilson Fisk. What did you think of her journey?
Fisk's right hand, essentially.
Yeah. What did you think of her journey in the first season?
I don't know if you could have picked a better actress. Why can't I think of her name right now?
Deborah Ann Woll.
Thank you. I remember because she had already done True Blood.
Yes.
Yeah.
And she was phenomenal on True Blood, like a honest, like a huge standout.
Yeah.
And then seeing when I was like, oh, she's gonna be in Daredevil, like because I didn't read a lot of Daredevil comics before, and obviously they don't deal with Karen Page in the animated series.
She was a problematic character in the comics.
I mean, yeah, like this is the stuff that Daredevil deals with, though. Junkies, right? Like petty criminals and people who are down on their luck, essentially, right? Like he's always like they say it's street level, like he's beyond street level. He's in the slums.
Yeah.
And she has such a rough time in the comics. Spoiler alert. I can't remember. I don't know if she's been brought back to life before, but she dies in the comics at some point.
She does get back,
because Matt has had so many love interests and so many have been fridged.
Yeah.
Not literally, because he's not the Green Lantern. But she is maybe one of the best crying actresses because she cries so much in True Blood. She cries. Like she's so good at tugging at her heartstring, and then she fucking crushes it later on in the other stuff because she gets to keep playing Karen. But watching her journey of like this helpless person and just like how desperate she is because she doesn't want to have to face these things, and then seeing her go head to head with the right hand of Kingpin because she's fighting. She's the one who starts the whole fight, right? Like she's the one who's fighting against Kingpin. Matt's not involved. It's unbelievable. Like she is weirdly enough like the heart of the show.
Her and Foggy, I would agree. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but she's also like the driving force, right? Like Foggy, like is kind of like a moral center in a lot of ways. Whereas like she might not even do that. She starts it, but she's like, I don't want to have to do this because I don't want to risk, everything I've got. Not that she has anything, but yeah, unbelievable. And I remember being so shocked at that scene. I'm like, that guy's really important. Like that guy is so important to Kingpin.
We saw him before we saw Kingpin. And
we're going to lose him in the first season of the show. Like we're never going to have that guy again. Okay. That's not like it was like the first season of 24 where like they'll kill anyone.
Yep.
Like you have no idea. I was like, okay, well they just killed like Kingpin's right hand man. Who else is going to like, is Daredevil going to die in this series? Who knows, like are they just going to kill Foggy?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oof. Right. Any other thoughts?
It felt like the stakes were there. Yeah.
Marcus?
No, I agree. Karen was great in the series. Deborah Ann Woll really brought the character, a lot of range. And, I think the material was largely, really good, like as far as her writing goes. Yeah, I remember watching her in True Blood too. And that was a fantastic role she did. And she really stood out among everybody in that show, with everything. Not too much else I got to say.
That's fair.
About it. Yeah.
Yeah, I found her like she was a very strong, like supporting character, like to the point, like kind of like what Dave was saying. Like it felt like she kind of was the driving force in a lot of episodes and a lot of times the story arcs itself. And it's hard to do that in a show that we're all there lined up to watch this guy jump around in the dark, beat the crap out of people, but also to watch. This reporter come around, this girl coming around, trying to be reporter and trying to like dismantle this crime boss syndicate kind of thing, and that was still really engaging and still really good. Like it was, I mean, and you got to give it up for that. That's a hard thing for an actor to do, and she carried it really well. I mean, to the point where I think everybody was outraged with the idea that they weren't going to bring her back.
Yeah.
For another series. It was like, you can't not have her come back. Like it doesn't make sense.
it's so wild to take a character who is important in some comics to this character, because she and then is never again in those comics, to basically like, no, these are the three people in Daredevil now.
Yeah,
it's Foggy Nelson, Matt Murdock, and Karen
Page.
whatever. I can't think it. I'm so tired.
It's okay.
Karen Page. Like if people hadn't read the comics, they would think, oh, this is what the comics are about. Yeah. These three characters.
Exactly. And speaking of Foggy, and Dave, you're totally right. He is the moral center of this film. Like, he's unwavering, and he's the one who actually brings Karen out of, like, Karen was very scared, like Hawk said in the first number of episodes, and then when she starts working for Nelson and Murdoch, he's the one who brings her out on cases, and he's the one who's like, you know what, come out and we'll do it. Well, you know what, we're gonna celebrate today because you're doing that. Like, he's such a good guy, and the actor who plays him, which I wrote at the top, who was
Eldon Henson.
Eldon from Mighty Ducks.
Like, from the Mighty Ducks.
The knuckle puck of the heart. What did you guys think of Nelson or Foggy in this series?
I was like, I still remember watching the series and like him coming up and me being like, why do I know this actor? why do I know this actor? And like, I just couldn't pin it. Like, I watched the entire first episode without fully knowing who I was watching.
Yep.
And when I looked it up afterwards, I got so excited. I was like, fuck yes, hell yeah! I have been waiting for this son of a bitch to make himself known again.
Yeah.
Yep.
And like, I know he's done other things, but like, this to me feels like his
higher profile.
Yeah, for sure. And I like genuinely love him. And again, mortified by the idea that they were even contemplating not bringing Foggy back, because as you all said, like, Foggy is the moral compass of the story, and Eldon is so damn good at playing it. Like, I couldn't imagine them if they recast it. I would boycott. It's just, he was so damn good that I could not imagine the show functioning and working the way it did without him. I don't think the show would have worked without, like, that character had to be there. We needed some version of that character to be there, and you need that character to be someone who is so unbelievably sympathetic and loyal that it makes you awestruck to the point of like, wow, he's still there. He's still holding on hope.
Yeah. And
he played it so well. He's got that look in his eyes. And I think he had that even in Mighty Ducks. Like, it's just so damn good. Oh, I have no notes whatsoever.
I
it's
agree.
funny because he's the one who's always like, why can't we do this for money? But like, he also, but he's always like, but we can make money. And then he's always just like, of course we won't make money. We'll just do it for free, or for ducks, or for corn, or whatever.
When he's helping that one lady with the rent control, and he's like, you know what? We'll fix it ourselves. You know what?
Yeah.
I love that. So good. Hawk, any thought?
I don't know what is it. It was the first season or second one, I can't remember. But that scene where he manages to talk two criminals out of murdering each other in a hospital emergency room.
I don't remember which one that was.
I think that's the first season, because that's when he meets Night Nurse.
I didn't even mention
Night Nurse. Yeah. You didn't even mention Rosario Dawson, who is very important in a lot of these shows. Really
especially that first season, and very important in Luke Cage.
Weirdly, basically teaches Daredevil how to torture people more effectively.
Yep.
Like, interrogate them.
Yeah, do this right here. He won't die.
Yeah, he won't die, and it'll hurt a lot. We never had that in a Batman before, right? It was like, here's how you torture people.
Sorry, Huck, did we cut you off on the?
No, that's fine. Like that, I think that scene beautifully represents like Foggy in the series.
Yeah. Any other things in the first season? Like, I guess we should talk about the Oneer. This is the first time they did it, and it became so popular because it was in the second episode that they decided to do it in every series moving forward.
This was inspired by Old Boy, essentially, right?
Exactly.
Because they went, well, that's a dark movie. We'll do what they do.
Yeah.
And it was super good. And it's such a great, important moment in the show when he triumphs and he walks away with that little, it's a girl. I think it's a little boy.
It's little girl.
Little boy?
Okay. It was little girl or boy?
It was a little boy.
Child. It's a child.
Yeah.
A boy. Oh boy.
A child.
Yeah.
Little child.
Because he saw himself in it, right? That's why he was.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, I still remember do you guys have those moments where something happens, you watch something in a series or a movie, and it gets you so jazzed up or so crazily riled that you just have to like call somebody, or you have to like talk to somebody, or you have to be like, I need somebody to bounce this off of and tell. That's what happened after that episode. I still remember watching that episode, and I called up my my former roommate. He was at work, and I was like, when you get home, we need to watch this. You need to see this. And he was just like, okay. I might be pretty tired. I'm like, it doesn't matter. You have to watch because I have to talk to you about it. We have to discuss it. It was one of the coolest, again, because the scene is, I'm used to seeing those kind of shots. I've seen those shots before, but in a TV setting, for a series setting like this, and for everything, the build up to that moment, it was the most impressive shot that I've ever seen. As far as the MCU is, anything that's the MCU / the TV world version of it all. To me, it's one of my favorites, if not my favorite scene that I've ever seen from anything that is Marvel made.
That's fair.
Am I right in that the True Detective came out after Daredevil?
Yes.
Right? And True Detective does a one.
Oh yeah.
In every season.
One of the most first season, one of the most amazing runners.
And I'm pretty sure it's highly they were like, they're going to do it. We want to do that. We're HBO. We can't be outdone. And they're easily par for par. Incredible. Every season they're just doing this to each other.
Sure, incredibly well choreographed. It's so much fun to watch. But also it really helps to bring the humanity to Hamat. Literally that he is a human being and that is out there doing this of his own accord, and that the pauses that each of them have to take, and that where they catch their breath and that.
Yes.
And the fact that he just keeps popping up and that, as soon as they make a move, he's just ready for it and that. But the thing with Daredevil and that, I'm always glad he got the suit by the end and that, because you really feel all the punishment he goes through in the entire series, right? The knives, the stabbings and that, the beatings he takes and that, the falls,
honestly, I don't think John Wick would exist.
Yeah.
I could
way because a show like this gets us more mainstream of no, our hero, how many times does our hero actually get beat? It's Lethal Weapon and Die Hard, and that's it. That's the only time where the hero actually gets beat up, basically.
Yeah.
And he gets beat a lot on this show.
Oh my god, yeah.
Doesn't the night nurse also say I guess the black doesn't show the blood?
Yes.
Right? Do we want to talk about night nurse? She was sort of important in the first season. Yeah, I don't really.
She's important.
I feel like
she was good.
She's a connecting tissue more than anything.
Yeah. I feel like it's more important later on.
Yeah, I did enjoy their relationship and that. The chemistry was really good between them.
That's true.
Well, that's the thing. Matt Murdock has chemistry with everyone.
He does.
He's a sexy man.
He's the Nightwing of Marvel.
It's the ass. It's the ass.
They may have the same fighting style, and they both have the same.
Oh yeah, they both have batons. That's crazy.
Matt Murdock is a fuckboy.
Yes.
Nightwing definitely is too. So let's go on to season. Wait, anything else about season 1? I think we've pretty much covered it.
We're good.
Season 2, we deal with.
Sorry.
Go for it.
Stick. We never talked about Stick.
We sort of talked about it in the origin. He was good on the show, and I think he's more important in when the hand shows up. Right?
Yeah, I was gonna say when he comes back, I think that's more relevant.
Was that in Defenders or was that in season 2?
Season 1 is Black Sky, isn't it? Because doesn't he save the little kid?
Yeah,
because that's the scene that's better than any Batman scene, except for maybe the Ben Affleck one in Batman vs Superman, where he's disappearing everyone. It was that was pretty early. It's episode 3 or something like that. I feel like
I don't quite remember, but let's talk about season 2.
Okay,
we'll just go on to, because season 2 introduces the Punisher, Elektra, and the Hand. The Hand being the Foot Clan of Daredevil, which is actually the reverse.
The Foot Clan is a parody. Yeah,
it was the reverse. Yeah. So let's talk about John Bernthal and the arrival of the Punisher, who is the sort of the
Castle.
He's the foil.
He's like Daredevil if Daredevil didn't have a moral code, right? He's that brutal, but he'll take it to the extreme. but he's also on trial in this season, and Karen sort of goes to bat with him. And then he goes up against the Black Hand. That's all Punisher. And then they got this amazing actor from the Pacific, I believe he was in, to portray.
Played a war hero.
Yeah, and now he's another war hero.
And now he's
What do you think of John Bernthal as the Punisher and his whole storyline in this season?
Did you guys like the Tom Jane Punisher? Because that was also that was my teenage years. So
I did.
I
did.
was so pissed off by that fucking movie.
You're a Dolph Lundgren fan? Is that?
No, the fact that I went and saw that in the theater and I went with my friend Donald, and at one point in the movie, I think it was about 30 minutes to 40 minutes in, like he turned to me and he said, "If he doesn't kill somebody in the next 10 minutes, I'm leaving."
I mean, he doesn't punish someone until the end. Right,
pretty much.
But he does kill a lot of people in that movie.
I really do like when he takes on the Russian and he punishes
That's
him.
a great scene.
In real life, he
actually stabbed Kevin Nash.
Did
Kevin Nash. Like,
I heard about that.
The knife that goes into him is real, and he got stabbed for real.
And Kevin Nash did the
just pulled
just
it out and and they just kept filming.
Holy shit!
That's fucking real. Like that's if there's like nothing else from that movie is a good takeaway except for that scene, that entire fight is brilliant,
unbelievable.
Everything else you could do without.
Why would you
nothing else is needed?
Why would you change his origin to be him being in Miami? Like I just don't understand it.
No reason,
right? It's so that his family could get
John
killed by the water.
Travolta probably wanted to film in Florida. Probably why, because they really wanted John Travolta because they wanted a big name.
I mean, John Travolta was,
and I can fly my plane around. So.
But anyway, because that's all we had. We had because the Dolph Lundgren Punisher movie was not very popular.
No.
Even though it probably should have been. Like he's a great actor, smart guy. Like should have been more famous, but. Yeah, we had that movie, which was also had new metal, right? Still very on the heels of Daredevil and stuff like that. It was still still that like era. Like I remember I bought the collector's edition, so I had the T-shirt for a long time. I used to work for paintball. So when you see John Bernthal, you're like, oh, this guy's legit.
Yeah,
like because Tom Jane's a great actor, but he doesn't feel like a special forces guy. He doesn't feel like a war. He doesn't he's good at being sad, but not haunted.
I mean,
John Bernthal
he was haunted in The Expanse. So I will say,
well, but that's many years later. He's a better actor then.
Way better role.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. John Bernthal. I mean, anybody who on a day-to-day average day looks like your nose is already broken is pretty much ready to play this role. And so all you have to do is add that tape or add a cut to his nose, and you're just like, this guy's he's this guy fucks. This guy
the deal that John Bernthal walks onto set and the director goes, "Oh, I've seen you've already been to makeup."
Yeah, it's just he's got much like one of the things that made Daredevil season 1 so well is seeing the punishment, seeing that beatings and the blood and the gore of what happens to him night after night after night. Getting that on the Punisher side of things was just so awesome because he is kicking ass, but he's also getting his ass kicked. And it's so nice to see, he doesn't stop. He's not going to stop. You have to put a bullet in his brain if you expect to stop this man.
Yeah, that didn't happen the first time they did that.
No, it did not. It did not. And I just love him so much. And so when they were Born Again's coming around, I'm like, Punisher? Punisher? If you're doing this, we need Punisher back. So these were the kind of things.
I just because there really were 3 characters who did really well together in the 90s comics because, it was the 90s and everything was extra, but you add in Wolverine. And those 3 characters, they're all like Wolverine is fighting for mutant rights a lot of the time. The Punisher is just they all have different things and they all are foils of each other in different ways. Because Daredevil and Wolverine, I don't know if you know this, Daredevil has stronger senses than Wolverine.
Yep, I didn't know that. Yeah.
So they have very similar power sets, and then there's this triangle of these characters that work so well together. Where it's the one guy's they're all tracking the same criminal and they're all doing it in their own way, and they all can. kill them own way.
I mean, if I get to see John Bernthal as Punisher on the big screen, I will.
Hugh Jackman one day would be pretty sick.
In Battle World. Oh,
Would be pretty
yes.
sick.
Yeah, go for it, Hawk. Sorry.
Again, this is a character that benefited so much in the series from the build-up, right? Because like it's Matt chasing down like what he thinks is a team that is taking out all these these gangs.
Yeah, he even says that, right? They're like, it would have taken like 12 guys. It's like in Boondock Saints when he's like, there was 5 guys lined up.
It was a firefight.
And then it's a cartel. Like he finds a cartel guy like strung up on a meat hook, and that.
Oh my god!
Just one guy. It was just one guy, and the shootout at the hospital, and it shows off like what a great strategist like the Punisher is, and that he's in a civilian hospital, and that he's only there to kill one person, and that. So what does he do? He very like accurately, and that he drives his target outside, right, so he can get a shot at him in the open.
Oh, he's so good.
I love how smart they actually, because the Punisher seems like a character, yeah, and I think the Tom Jane character version was pretty smart too, but in a different way, right? He was like just like tactics, and this guy's like, no, I can infiltrate places. Like when he's on the rooftop. And he just like changed, and he's like, "Hey, it's me, it's Frank, blah, and you're like, "Wait, the Punisher can finesse people?"
Yeah,
I'm like, yeah, of course he can. Yeah, he's special for. He's a smart guy. He's special for. He's charismatic. Like, yeah.
But also, like that shot where you see he's got a gun trained on that old guy's head
the whole time. He's ready to rock. Yeah.
I do love that him and Karen Page like really worked well together. Like there's something about Karen, taking a liking to him throughout the whole season. I thought that was really, really quite good as well. This season also saw the MCU introduction of Elektra, who is, one of the biggest Marvel characters. So, and her, her relationship with the Hand, which was a ninja group. I don't know how to explain them. They're ninjas. They're ninjas.
They're ninja
right?
assassins.
Yeah.
What's their next
So we've seen Elektra introduced, played by the amazing Elodie Young, and she enters Matt's life, and everything sort of goes crazy. This is where we find out Elektra's Black Sky. That's this season. Yeah. All of that stuff. What do you think of Elektra in this season?
Honestly, I liked her so much more. I'm sure everyone else does, so much more than Jennifer Garner. She feels so much more authentic.
Yep.
She seems less. I mean, there's still angst, but it's not just like early 2000s angst. It's like legit. Like, oh, this person's had a tough time.
She's not just listening to her music with one ear and be like, oh man, I'm so sad.
Well, the Elektra Nachios in the Daredevil movie was like the daughter of like a really rich guy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. And then and you see that from the start. Right. Whereas this version, you see this like kind of fun loving person with, in Matt's youth, but also has a darkness to her. And then you realize later, oh, OK, there's more to her. But she's haunted by this other because she's the Black Sky, because this group wants her, because they've been training her since she was a kid.
Yep.
Just maybe it's just they're such good actors, but once Matt Murdock has chemistry, but to do that on screen with like every time Charlie Cox is on screen with one of his female leads, and you're just like, how does this guy have chemistry? Oh, he's British. Oh, he loves
everyone loves him. Yeah.
Oh, right. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Well, to be fair, Elodie Young also like oozes personality with everyone that she talks to in this series.
I mean, she could just look in my direction. I'd be like, okay,
I melt.
Whatever you want.
I mean, their casting and the whole thing. I mean, from the start, it was great, right?
And also, like Elodie and Charlie Cox do most of their choreography, which I think is phenomenal. Like as actors, like you see their faces. You have to. Well, Daredevil has his mask, but you could tell it's him for most of it.
Yeah, Elektra. There was no face replacement back then.
No.
And she doesn't wear a mask. Well, she wears a mask now that she's like also Daredevil or whatever in the comics, but doesn't count.
Marcus?
She was great.
Yeah,
she was great. Just that kind of that different kind of thing. Like the the relationship between like, Karen and Matt in the first season was always,
well, they want
flirtatious and that, but this is a woman who brings out like the dark side in Matt, especially like that scene where she was like, this is the one who pulled the trigger on your dad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She was aching for him to beat him to death right there.
Oh man. Also, like, because of her introduction, a lot of the strain, like Foggy and Matt had already, their relationship was already getting strained in the first season with him going off and being more Daredevil. And this season, just with the introduction of Elektra, him and Foggy and Karen are sort of being pulled apart in all sorts of ways. It's just sort of, it's upsetting. It's sad to see this happen, especially as a fledgling like lawyer firm. What did we think of the last scene where Karen, actually finds out that Matt is Daredevil? That's this season, right? Did I write that right? Or is that in Defenders?
I think, wasn't it more intimated? I can't remember. Shit. It's been a while since I rewatched season 2. So.
Yeah, same. I mean,
obviously it wasn't that important if we don't remember it that well. Like, it wasn't that impactful.
It impacted the third season, but that was after Defenders, right?
Yeah. The third season came out because they think Matt's dead, and then the third season is about him recovering, basically.
Yeah. Which
is weird that we're gonna have like 3, like, because like that season was basically actually Born Again.
Yeah. Yeah, because
the actual comic Born Again.
Yeah.
Whereas now we're doing Daredevil Born Again, but we're not doing Born Again. We're doing.
Yeah. To be fair, we don't really know what this season's going to be.
I thought what was special about this season more than anything maybe is that they did like one storyline for the first half and a separate storyline for the second half, which is what Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. later did and made their best seasons out of it.
The later ones, yeah.
Because remember, before we went on air, I was bitching about the thing where we're like, oh, shows need to be long. And Polygon was like, shows aren't long enough. It's like, no, shows should be the length they need to be. And Daredevil season 1 was 13 episodes, if I'm not mistaken. I remember because I've watched every season that's come out the day it came out, all of it at once.
Yeah. Yeah. And 13 episodes was that kind of that standard that like, the streaming television that kind of developed. I think The Sopranos was the first one to do it. And then it's just like, everybody's like, has to have 13 episodes.
Yeah. And now and
that's normal in like the UK where they do like 6 or 12 or 13. Like they don't do 22 to 24 or 26 sometimes in North America, which is crazy. So the stories were so tight and weird. Like there's no fat in this show. And I think I'm sure that's on purpose where they really, and also I'm thinking that's why it's so good. Cause they literally went, hey, normally what we have to do is we have to get one person to write each episode and it's going to take time to blah, blah. And they literally went, your 6 are this and your 6 are this. So you don't have to worry about making sure 11 episodes later that you're doing callbacks and stuff. Yeah. You just have to worry about, 2 other episodes or something. And it makes it so tight and so good. And I, it's a what's the word? Like a backdoor into the Punisher series that we got and the Defenders.
Yeah. Any final thoughts on the second season? We do have another amazing fight. The oneer is that the
Punisher Daredevil? One? Yeah, he takes on the entire. Yeah, in season 2, it's when he takes on the entire biker gang that's coming for Frank.
Right.
Oh shit, yeah.
But there's also the prison.
Season 3.
No, the prison is
season 3.
The prison is the Punisher fight in season 2.
Oh, well,
Matt also,
yeah. Okay, I was thinking season 3 when Matt had to escape from the prison.
Oh, yeah. I thought it was a strong season, more or less. I don't really want to talk about the Defenders too much, but we do see Matt linking up with the other Netflix series people, Jessica Jones, Iron Fist, who was fucking terrible.
That show could have been condensed.
Yes,
that was that show's problem.
The Defenders felt so rushed and so like half-assed. Like it felt just like we need to do this thing, so let's just slap it together.
Yeah, it was like everybody's got to get back to their show. Can we?
And then they had to shoe in like Elektra because she was very popular with Daredevil, so they're like, let's bring her in here too, right? It felt wrong. It didn't feel
probably wasted Sigourney Weaver in the MCU, right?
It felt like they were like, okay, this isn't
big villain.
I forgot.
this isn't like working. So like, let's just make it look like the characters aren't working together, and we'll make that the storyline. That's what it just felt like. I didn't like it at all.
It didn't help that fucking Danny Rand is not a good Iron Fist.
No, he's just terrible. Like that. Like if there's any recasting for all of these shows, like I would be on board 100%.
Don't recast. It's just not Danny Rand anymore. In Marvel Rivals, it's Swordsman Lin Lei, who like there's a bunch of characters who've been Iron Fist.
I'm good.
And Lin Lei's great.
I'm cool with that.
Yeah,
I'm cool with that. Give me anybody.
That Danny Rand is not supposed. He was written as the opposite of a white savior. They're literally like, we taught him wrong as a joke. Like that's Danny Rand, where like he's not better than all these other guys. Like they send him out of Kung Lung to die so they can get the power back, so that someone can defend it. Like they don't want him there. He's not like the white savior. He's terrible. So in some ways, the show worked.
I mean,
but they didn't mean for the show to be like that either, which is so funny that like it's all accident. When the comics they meant it, but in the show they were like, no, we'll take it serious. And it just,
I feel like
because he was too busy with Game of Thrones.
Colleen Wang, yeah,
she was great. She didn't come back for Shang-Chi so that she could keep playing Colleen Wang.
Doesn't she become Iron Fist in the comics too?
Everybody's been Iron Fist in the comics.
So I would love her to be Iron Fist.
And Iron Fist has been Daredevil.
She was at the end of season 2.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
She took Colleen Wing. Sorry. Yeah. Colleen Wing becomes Iron Fist during Civil War. Matt Murdock flees the country, so he's not breaking the law.
Oh yeah.
So Danny Rand pretends to be Daredevil.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's not talk about the Defenders. It was not great. I do like Jessica Jones. I hope she comes back. I hope Luke Cage comes back.
That first season is Jessica Jones. Insanely good. David Tennant was
David Tennant, man. David Tennant.
Good.
Oh.
Yeah. But we don't need to talk about them until they join the MCU for real. Maybe we'll see them in Born Again. That would be amazing.
I'd love to see.
You just reminded. I didn't realize that there actually are 2 seasons of Iron Fist.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I genuinely.
There's 2 seasons of each of them. Yeah. Punisher got 2 seasons.
Punisher got 2 seasons? I don't know.
Punisher. Yeah, he fights John Parrish or whatever.
No, I didn't mind the Punisher one. The Punisher one was fine. I remember watching that. I don't remember watching season 2 of Iron Fist.
You probably didn't. You probably didn't. I didn't. It's the only one I haven't seen.
Yeah, it's dreadful.
Wow.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to season 3, the final season of Netflix's Daredevil. I feel like we'd found out that they were losing all the Marvel shows around the time that this came out, which is sort of made me sad, and it sort of made me realize that I had not finished this season until a couple weeks ago.
Announcing season 2, like of when it was going to come out for Jessica Jones, is when they're like, okay, there's no more shows, and they're like, wait, but you have 2 other shows in production.
Yeah.
And so I thought we weren't going to get even those. I didn't think we were going to get Luke Cage or Punisher season 2, but we did. And then, what it meant was no more Daredevil.
Yeah. This is like Dave had said, this is sort of the Born Again storyline where Matt is assumed dead by everyone and sort of comes back because
a building falls on him in the Defenders at the end.
Yeah, he gets shot out a sewer pipe.
Maybe the only thing that's worth. There's like 2 things in the show that you need to know, and then but don't worry about the other thing.
Yeah. They talk about it at the beginning. He pretty much gets found, or he sends for the priest that he grew up with. So it's his him waking up in the
talk about that guy. That guy was great. And there's a great scene in every season with that priest where Matt goes to talk to him and he's like, man, what can I do? He needs to center himself, and that guy helps.
It's true. But this one, so he wakes up in the orphanage and he's sort of broken physically and mentally. He can't hear out of his right ear, so he loses all of his powers at that point. So he abandons his Daredevil identity. He thinks that he's failed, and this is his building up. What do you guys think of that? Him with getting broken down and becoming Daredevil.
I mean, it was fine. Again, I feel like they were trying to just they were trying to push way too much going on in this season, because I think they're like, oh crap, we don't have another chance to do all this. Mm-hmm. Let's jam as much crap in here as we possibly can, because we won't get another season after this. And that's what it felt like. They were just trying to accomplish too much, and it felt rushed. It felt, it just didn't feel good. And also, I don't know, the way we already know where this trend of these episodes were going to go. Like, we already knew what was going to kind of happen. You could kind of get a sense of that. You're like, oh, I don't want to sit here for 3 episodes watching like, oh, I don't know. I don't think I can do this anymore. Oh, I just did it a little bit. I don't think I can do it anymore. Oh, I did it again a little bit. I'm just kind of fucking tired of it. I was just like, just skip it. Skip this shit. If I could have fast forwarded, I would have, but I didn't want to miss anything.
That's fair. Hawk?
I mean, it's always frustrating, when like you see like a progression of a hero and that, especially like with Daredevil and that, kind of go back. But at the same time, with the news of the cancellation that this would probably be the last excursion out. What did they do? They decided to go back to the basics with him. Which was kind of interesting. It's like, okay, like, the red suit again is not, it's not the only thing that makes Daredevil in that. In fact, they base the whole story about that. Like, the suit does not make him because the suit's taken from him and used to turn him into a criminal.
Yep.
Gets him back into just what it is that he actually is doing this for. I mean, it might be the weakest of the 3, but it's still a very, very strong season, especially with the introduction of Bullseye.
Yeah, I mean, his relationship with his mom. Did they actually say that that's his mom in the? Yeah,
I think it's either explicitly or strongly implied.
Yeah, because he is in the comics, right?
Yeah.
Dave, do you have any thoughts about the Born Again storyline?
Man, I think it's got the weakest start.
Yeah.
And I forgot. I literally forgot about Bullseye. I think it's a much slower burn because you spend so much time with just him being broken, and it's a lot of dialogue. But it doesn't feel like there's a struggle in the same way. Whereas, like in the other shows, you're like, a little bit of origin story, like you're setting up Punisher. There's like a mystery. This time there wasn't really I guess, him like I guess why is he alive is supposed to be but it didn't feel like, oh man, like what's gonna happen this season.
Yeah.
And then when you finally get somewhere, you're like, oh, yeah, because Bullseye's so good. Maybe the best foil he has.
Yeah.
But
like the first villain I feel like was, kind of genuine match for this version of Daredevil.
Yeah.
That came out in the series.
And I think that's maybe where the show, it's like they didn't know what to do with Matt during the show, right? Where it's like, well, we gotta show him rehabilitating himself. We'll do a little thing with like his mom. But really, the show was like the origin of Bullseye.
Yeah.
I mean, which was a strong story. Like the corruption, like watching Kingpin slowly corrupt him is insidious and like kind of gross and really entertaining. But
yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Like that's actually the next point we're talking about is how Wilson Fisk ends up, using the FBI and then sort of like slowly just starts turning them, each of them.
It doesn't matter where he is, he will take over. Like he cannot not be on the top of the pyramid.
Yeah. And then he keeps, and then there's obviously this FBI agent that, is supposed to be looking after Fisk, and he ends up just turning him a little bit at a time, and he ends up becoming
personal assassin.
Yeah, Bullseye. What'd you guys think of this whole storyline about Fisk corrupting the FBI and building Daredevil? Not Daredevil, fake Daredevil / Bullseye.
Bullseye. Yeah. I mean, I kind of dug most of it. I liked it. Which again leads to like a really satisfying final fight kind of thing. Like the 3 of them just whipping each other around and just bloodying each other up is just a great scene.
The fight in the Daily Bugle is so good.
Yes, it is.
Where he's dressed as Daredevil, and then Matt's like, "Wait a minute, I'm Daredevil."
I'm Daredevil, yeah,
right. And you're watching like suit Daredevil, and I don't even know what you want to call like no suit Daredevil going at it. You're just like, and he's like bouncing shit. You're like, what the fuck? How does this guy know where I am? He can't see me. I'm the blind one with the sense, and this guy can still do this shit. It was so good. Then that last fight, weirdly enough, the last fight is like it's all on Fisk's terms.
Mm-hmm.
Right, because he's the one trying to control everything and trying to he's already corrupted Bullseye, and now he's once again trying to tempt Matt, right? He's like, you kill him or you kill me, like almost like the Joker, where he's like, I'm gonna make you break your rule, right? Either like, because Fisk is like, regardless, I win. Like, if you kill me, I win, and I'll be dead, but like, I still destroyed you and who you are and what you believe in. Or my personal assassin will kill you, or I'll kill you, or I'll kill both of you. Like,
definitely strongest, like, Fisk storyline in that, as far as like him, tearing down this guy, making him his bitch, and like everything that Fisk did in that, from ratting out the Albanians to staging his own attack in the thing to manipulate the FBI into putting him under house arrest, and that it was Machiavellian brilliance, and it's like shows off one of the strongest aspects of the Kingpin character in that. It's just like his intelligence, his ability to think.
He's so smart that you don't realize how smart he is, which is sort of weird to do.
One of the best scenes was him when he got all the personal information on Poindexter, right? And he's breaking it all down in his head, replaying this kid's life and that out, and as we watch it on screen.
Literally him going, how am I going to manipulate this person? And then like building his plan. Like we never talk about, well, he's not just the kingpin of crime because he's literally the biggest guy.
Yeah.
He is, I don't think they ever even talk about it in Marvel. He's not a scientific genius. He's just a genius in like manipulation and like, I guess planning and is he Jeff Bezos? Is he the best logistician in the Marvel universe?
Man,
because he's got goons everywhere.
It's true. He has fingers everywhere.
He's just a little bit in everybody's life, and that's what makes him so terrifying.
And mad props to the showrunners for casting Wilson Bethel as Daredevil, or not Daredevil. God, I keep on saying that Bullseye. Because he looks just like Charlie Cox under the mask. Like it's
oh my god, yeah.
It's insane how
in the promotional video or photo, they have a promotional photo for Born Again where it shows the Bullseye costume with the Bullseye thing.
Really?
Have you not seen that?
No, I'm trying to stay away from it so I can just get into the series.
It looks exactly like Charlie Cox. Like, it looks like him in the suit, but it's Bullseye.
It's
just the I
didn't know until fantastic. Like last week that he was going to be back in the show. I'm like, oh, thank God he's back, because he was so good.
Yeah. Another, I sort of.
Oh my God, are we going to get Punisher versus Bullseye?
Yes, we are. Yeah. That's amazing.
Can we get Deadpool versus Bullseye, because it's one of the best fights in all of comics.
They all need to meet. Another weak a storyline I thought was weak in this season was sort of Karen. She was sort of like. Off to the side.
Yeah, and then I hate when that happens. Right?
And then she sort of wanted to kill Fisk throughout the season, I guess, for all he did. I don't know.
She's not unjustified.
No, she's not. But like it just, she's down on her, and then she's doing the whole trying to wait for Matt to come back because she knows that he's Bullseye and she's hiding it from Foggy. Wait, does Foggy know at this point?
Yes.
No. Yeah, he does.
Because they break up as friends because of it
at the beginning. Yeah. Thoughts on Karen?
Yeah, because the show ends with like all of their relationships repaired, right? Where it's like they're friends again, and we're all gonna live happily ever after.
We're all putting our names on the door. That's happens at the end. Right? Karen. No, anyone else?
Yeah, because she had such a strong season with the Punisher.
Yeah,
and then this season she doesn't. I feel like she doesn't really get to use her. Actually, what they did is they flipped the switch. Right? It's like the Punisher wore off on her, and now she's not the empathetic. She's been empathetic for so long, and she's been through so much. She's like, you know what? Fuck it, I'm done. That guy just kills people and gets it done. And I've been hanging out with him, and he seems to kind of understand, and shit gets done when Frank Castle's around. So let's just kill this guy and be done with it.
I mean, she saw so much with Frank in that. I remember like the diner and that. It's like, they're just, I don't know, just two guys about to walk into a diner for the last time.
It's fucking incredible that it's like the Jimmy Olsen who's like, I'm always around when crazy stuff's happening, like your PTSD must be so strong.
It's true. Anything we already talked about Bullseye, really, we don't have to go into that. The finale does see them all happy and whatnot. Wilson Fisk is away, and they're building their relationship, or they're building their company together, which would make it insane if they didn't have them all come back in Born Again. I'm just gonna talk about Echo for a little tiny bit because Born Again sees Wilson Fisk become mayor, and that idea really comes throughout the whole Echo series, right?
You gonna talk about Hawkeye at all? Or?
No, we don't really need to.
Okay.
I mean that's how we get Echo and stuff, and we see him coming back, which is nice. His introduction back into the MCU, which I did not expect at all. So that's cool.
Kind of crazy that Kate Bishop fought Kingpin.
Yeah, that's
kind of crazy.
Yeah, so I didn't watch all of Echo. I do know that he got the idea of being.
I watched all of it. It's not great.
No,
it really isn't. The first episode was good.
They really screwed up something that honestly seemed like it could have been really good.
Yeah. I mean, that was at the time when the MCU was on putting out much out as possible.
Bob Paycheck,
exactly.
Ruining. So content over quality was his.
So now that they've hard back, which is nice, we'll see hopefully quality increase. They've definitely done that with the new Spider-Man animated series and the X-Men series.
Yeah, they knocked it out of the park with the animated stuff. So
yeah.
Who do they think they are? DC?
Yeah.
We talked about all the action cinematography of the series, and I don't think we need to touch upon it, but it does. All the choreography was phenomenal, and I hope that if it turns in the next one,
it will. There's no way they're going to do. They're going to do a oneer.
I've been watching like a trailer like over and over in that, and it's like I definitely think the violence, maybe like the blood will be toned down a bit, but not the actual violence that goes on in that.
I'm praying for a Punisher Daredevil simultaneous oneer because they've both had a prison oneer. I'm like, do it together.
Yeah. The one thing I do want
to, the whole time Matt's trying to stop him from killing people.
The one thing I do want to mention is, what do you guys think of when you were watching Spider-Man No Way Home and Charlie Cox showed up as Daredevil? Because we had
I wanted to see them in costume. It's so bad.
We had not heard that he was returning for sure at that point, right? So it was all speculation, and the fact that he showed up.
There's so many things they could have done. They could have had Wilson Fisk on the podcast with J. Jonah Jameson. Like, that'd be a missed opportunity if they don't bring in J.K. Simmons. And like that could be the intro of the show of like, so you're running for mayor, blah blah blah. I can't wait, because J. Jonah Jameson's gonna back him.
Yeah, 100%.
Because this Spider-Man's a menace.
Yeah. I mean, the whole audience cheered as soon as he showed up. For me,
it was so good.
That could be such a missed opportunity because the whole thing is going to be like the no capes in New York, right? Yeah. Isn't that the?
Yeah. I
can't. Please have done that.
All right. Let's just end off this with talking about Daredevil Born Again. I've only seen the trailer once, so I don't really want to talk about it because I don't really remember it. I'm trying to keep myself pretty
I have not even watched a trailer. The only thing I watched was the teaser where it was
teaser one,
where Charlie Cox is talking to D'Onofrio, and like they're just having like a little conversation. I loved that, and I was like, that's all I need. I don't want to know anything else. I don't want to. Don't give me any storylines. Don't give me plot points. Don't give me any snippets. So I've avoided every other trailer. There's like a couple other trailers floating around. I will not watch them. Yeah. I just want to observe.
You just want to be clean going in.
Same.
Yeah, because I want the show like when the first Daredevil series came out. I knew nothing, and suddenly there was bleeding buildings, and then there was a guy with horns standing there, and I was like, okay, let's see what this show has to offer. And
I don't remember a lot in those trailers.
Yeah,
for that show.
Yeah,
I remember the teaser for the first Daredevil series was him on top of a church on the gargoyle. Do you remember that?
Yeah, yeah, I do.
I was just
that was like the CG, right? That wasn't actually.
Yeah, but season 3 of the Daredevil series, they had their teaser their trailer gave everything away. Gave it all away. Like there was literally like 2 shots where you saw Daredevil in his all blacks fighting other Daredevil and him and just whipping things at him. I'm like, well, you know who that is.
Yeah.
Like it just like they gave things away from the get-go. And I was like, don't do that.
Is there anything you want? I can't even think of a storyline with all of these characters that I would want to see, because
I want Stilt Man. Give me Stilt Man.
Is there something
if you don't know what I'm talking about, when he went to the costume maker, who is Gladiator, when he went to in the background, there were stilts, like the giant leg stilt apparatuses in the background. That is Stilt Man. I want Stilt Man.
So there's a bunch of great stuff we could do, because obviously we saw the Wrecking Crew and She-Hulk, and we had Daredevil and She-Hulk. So so they could still, weirdly, that was in LA though. So like there's no reason we couldn't still see, like, I would love to see them working for Fisk now. Mm-hmm. And instead of their magic weapons, now they have like maybe Chitauri. Yeah, like just bring it all together, man. Bring them, like, we salvaged these from the Vultures operation. Just like together, man. Just bring it all together. Just hang a lantern on that lantern. You can do it. You can make my head explode. Like,
I mean, I can't even think of. I want to see the black suit. They showed all of the helmets in the teaser. I want to see more
black
costumes.
And red, or like the black and blue?
Black and red.
No. I want the full black. I want the all black, but with like the small bits of armor to it, kind of thing. The black armor suit. I want black armor.
Black with red eyes.
What I would love to
see. Like that one.
I love his like hand thing they did recently. Hands, like it's ballin'. Oh, well, he becomes the Fist of God, which they won't do this, I'm sure, because he like leads the hand, but it's all white.
Yeah.
Oh, there was something recently too, but no, he has a sick costume. I can't find it right now.
Anything you want to see
with Elektra?
They haven't said if Elektra is coming back, have they? Elodie Young?
Yeah, they haven't said anything about Elodie. But
you know what? I don't think she's coming back. From what I gather from the trailer, it veers away from that because there's already a lot going on.
I don't think there's going to be any ninjas in this. I feel like they've kind of tread that ground. That's right. And because that was also the whole Defenders, right? Because that linked Iron Fist and Daredevil, and they probably want to stay as far away as possible from Iron Fist. From that press.
I sort of just want to see her.
They closed out that story with the Defenders, anyways. So.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing Tombstone or some sort of version of Tombstone coming in.
Yeah.
I would love that. Like
any of those.
We need those kind of like
the level villains, right?
Yeah, like those gangster villains kind of thing. Like, and I feel like that would be a lot of fun to see.
Well, fuck, it'd be great to see the fucking Scorpion from Spider-Man.
Matt Gargan.
Matt Gargan.
There's so much overlap, right? Because of Kingpin being and these are all like so many, like the Sinister Six in the cartoon, right? Was all like a Spider Slayer initiative, right? All Kingpin stuff. So there's so much stuff that they could bring together that they could ignore Spider-Man. They can talk about Spider-Man, like whatever they want. But I don't know. Maybe they'd have to deal with the rights then, I guess. But there's so many characters that they could do that are. Yeah, man. Like, there's so many street level villains that they could use. Like Crusher Creel was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. We haven't seen him in any of this. He's mentioned in a couple of some flyers, I think. But
season one, he's shown in one of the boxing. His name is featured in one of the boxing posters.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we're done. We're gonna come back and talk about the actual show when it comes out. I don't know if it's coming out in all in one
on Tuesday, March 4th.
Is it episodic?
What I'm hoping is that they're releasing it in chunks because they did that recently for the your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man series.
Yeah, they did 2 episodes, 2 or 3.
2 episodes, and then 3, and then 3, and then the final 2 are coming out on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Given that there's like 15 episodes of this series,
is there? Holy shit!
Yeah, I was kind of surprised when I looked it up. I want to double check that just for a sec here.
Yeah.
Some of them might be pretty short then.
Yeah, Disney Plus is weird with their run times, right?
The first 2 episodes are coming out on the 4th, so there's at least that. This is the first season consists of 9 episodes, but that
really.
That maybe it was originally 13 and they cut it down to not, like because they redid the whole show basically, right?
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
The second season also consists of 9 episodes. We've already got a second season coming. Cool.
Is this why they had? Okay, because I had seen this a month ago. Like the episode count was kind of insane for like a Daredevil series, and I thought, like, okay, that makes more sense now that they're already actually planning a season 2.
Oh, and this is officially part of Phase 5.
5, yeah.
So that's interesting. I don't know if you guys, we had talked about this off mic, but the new Captain America is starting to bring things together. Although I don't know if it's required viewing for everyone.
Okay.
It does start bringing in previous movies together into what's happening. Also, it has the worst post-credits scene I've ever seen in the MCU.
Oh, goody.
And it's
what would probably make us happy? Just put fucking Shang-Chi in the post-credits of this show.
Give me fucking Shang-Chi. Oh my God.
Yes.
I just need that movie. I just need another Shang-Chi movie.
Like, there's literally, you could have had a self-contained fucking Shang-Chi story by now.
Yeah.
And it would have played, and everybody would have just, fuck, man. Like, give us the goods.
It's probably one of the better ones of this. Like,
it was definitely the best of that block.
Yeah. Wait, I think that one also had no way.
What was in it? What was in that block? What other movies were in that?
It was in the first one, Eternals. No Way Home. No Way Home.
No Way Home was great.
Good.
I don't
Black
think it's
Widow.
as good as,
I don't even remember what else was in that section. The movies haven't been great recently, but you know what?
No.
We'll talk about that when we get to Daredevil or Fantastic Four. We're definitely doing a Fantastic Four episode in July, which will be the month of happy comic book movies. Superman and Fantastic Four. I'm looking forward to that. Okay, well, we're done about Daredevil. I'm looking forward to seeing the Born Again. We'll talk about the first episode, or at least the first 2 episodes when it comes out in a couple weeks. Any final thoughts on Daredevil before we go? All good?
We'll be radar sensing you soon.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I don't know how to go from there, but
have no fear.
It's a man without fear.
It just keeps going. Marcus, do you want to go with one? Nope.
You want a pun?
Nope, that's fine.
I don't.
That's
you
fine.
Do a pun?
That's good.
No.
That's good. Thank you guys for coming and talking about Daredevil. Thank you out there for listening. We will be back in a couple weeks. We'll see you soon. Goodbye. Bye. Bye. Well, that's it for us this week on Geeks with Kids. If you want to get a hold of us, you can send us an email at podcast@geekswithkids.ca. And don't forget to like us on Facebook at facebook.com/geekswithkids. Follow us on Twitter at geekswithkidscn. Check out our pics on Instagram at geekswithkids. And you can find all of this good stuff on our website at www.geekswithkids.ca. So if you like what you hear, why don't you hit that subscribe button and leave us a comment. This podcast can be found on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, YouTube, and your favorite podcasting app. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.